Ted O'Brien, what does a special envoy do?
So basically what's happened is now that we've secured the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games, we're in this transition phase. And in that transition phase, we've got to get all the governance right. And that includes standing up an organising committee, an infrastructure body, and all of these sorts of things. So from the federal government's point of view, the Prime Minister has made some decisions around who has to be responsible for what. And as part of that, he has created a special envoy position and appointed me to that position. So basically that means my job is to work with the responsible ministers, federal, state, as well as the Lord Mayor of Brisbane on some of those governance issues. It also means engaging with the business sector as well as the community sector as we start ramping things up now that we're moving in more into the delivery mode, having finished the sales mode and having secured the deal. So that's what it's all about.
So, and Ted O'Brien, not that I want to, I'm not suggesting you won't be here in 11 years' time, but politicians do come and go. 11 years is a long lead time. Is there an actual point person that, you know, whether you or someone else will appoint who will be here for the long run?
Well, you're dead right, Rebecca. It's 11 years. And I think if any one of your listeners thinks the Olympic Paralympic Games is about politicians, I think they'll be set straight pretty quickly. If not, people will come and go, governments will come and go, and people like me will come and go, which goes to the importance of us getting the governance right. It sounds boring, but unless you...
Well, it sounds boring until you give us a hint about who's going to be in the top job, Ted O'Brien. Like, what's that? Who's that? What's that role, and where's that person going to be brought in from?
So there are going to be different bodies established. One of them will be an organising committee for the Games. So when you talk about the top job, from organising the Games, it will be the president of the organising committee.
Okay, and we don't know who that person is yet?
That person is not known yet. Mm-hmm. That person is not found yet. So because we have a 50-50 partnership between the Prime Minister and the Premier, ultimately it will be their call, but there will be an independent search to make sure we get someone who's, one, the best, and two, independent. And that person then effectively becomes like the chair of the board. Although in the Olympics world, you refer to them as the president of the Olympics committee. And there'll be a full board, so a full organising committee, and also a CEO who will take responsibility for the daily activity of the organising committee.
Have you already had your phone ringing with people saying, "Hey, Ted"?
Well, there's no doubt you win some interesting friends in this game. but Rebecca, look, if there's any problem we've got, it is just the depth of talent. It truly is. It's the main game in town, although this is 11 years away. We have to start accruing the benefits for Queensland immediately. And so there's no doubt people are eyeing off lots of positions at the moment.
But who pays that person, and what's the salary, say, of the president of the Olympic Organising Committee?
Advertising the role here and now, we'll have a search company who'll be doing just that. Other than to say that obviously the position has to be commensurate with the authority. In other words, how the person is remunerated, empowered to do the job, has to equal the responsibility that he or she has to carry. So we're after a heavyweight. We're not after some BC grader here. This has to be an absolute A grader person who is a global lead. And again, talent pool is deep, but there's a process ahead. We've just got to make sure we do it right.
You're listening to Ted O'Brien, who is the Special Envoy for the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. He's been really involved in the lead-up to securing the Olympics, but yesterday the Prime Minister confirmed that Ted O'Brien would be the government's Special Envoy. 11 years out, is that a longer lead time than normal, Ted O'Brien?
It is, Rebecca. The usual lead time is around about 7 years, and we now have 11 years. So this is all part of the Olympic movements they've turned their business model upside down, and they call it the new norms. And as part of that, you have a longer lead time. But also as part of that, the Olympic movement doesn't want a host to invest in infrastructure that it doesn't need anyway. And so these games that you'll see in 2032 throughout southeast Queensland and elsewhere in Queensland, by the way, but predominantly the southeast, where there's any infrastructure spend, it's because we need it as a community, not because we're hosting the games. If anything, what the games does is it helps us accelerate the delivery of that infrastructure.
All right.
Well, that's the difference, and that's why 11 years is key too, because we've got some jobs to do.
Let's accelerate a little bit. When does the Gabba get demolished?
Well, decisions such as the Gabba are yet to be finalised. So right now, we're standing up all the governance. One of those pieces of governance will be an agency that will look after infrastructure. Included in infrastructure, transport infrastructure, road and rail, etc. And then there will be venues, and consideration of the Gabba will then take place. So you'll see a lot more activity and discussion about the Gabba next year rather than this year.
Who gets to decide on things like the mascot, the motto? Who's going to design the Olympic torch for the 2032 Games, Ted?
Have you got a mascot in mind, Rebecca?
Yes, the brown snake, the Brisbane River. I don't want anything cute or cuddly. I want something that's slightly unusual, and we should embrace the snakes of southeast Queensland.
You heard it here first. Congratulations. Look, there are well-worn processes involved for all of the above. Obviously, the organising committee will be the main decision-making body about such things. But look, local communities have got to get involved too, right? This is not some top-down driven activity. You need to ensure that every local area is putting their thinking cap on, saying, how can we extract the benefit of this? Again, because it's 11 years, it's not about, where a particular sport will take place in 2032. This is about, all right, we are now on the world stage. This will give us benefits we haven't had before. What can we do as a local community to attract tourists, to ensure we have training camps, to ensure our own local facilities are built up to scratch? What can we do on health and wellbeing? I mean, even on the Sunshine Coast, where I'm from, we are already amidst establishing a local task force that will just look at some of these questions, and I think every area of Queensland has the opportunity really to be doing the same.
Well, let me put to you one suggestion that a young woman called Olivia put to me last week. Olivia has Down syndrome, and in terms of the Paralympics, she's mounted a campaign called Change the Box. She wants a specific category for people with Down syndrome who may have intellectual and physical disabilities. Is there an opportunity to make history on, in circumstances like that, Ted O'Brien?
Well, I think good on you, Olivia. I really do. And this is the sort of out-of-the-box thinking we need. And I'm so glad you mentioned it, Rebecca, because too often people talk about the Olympic Games. We need to underscore the fact that we are also hosting the Paralympics. And as we saw in Tokyo, haven't we got some serious talent? Now, what you see with the Paralympics is an opportunity for us to not only create sporting opportunities for those who have disabilities, but to also improve our built environment right across the state. Again, in particular, the very congested areas of the southeast corner that might help people with disabilities, but also help our senior citizens and so forth, right? So I'm actually every bit, if not more, excited about what the Paralympics offers, not just Queensland, but the entire nation. And good on Olivia. And I think more ideas that come forward, the better. Those decisions, though, are not anywhere near right now being made, right?
When will we know who the president of the Olympic Organising Committee is?
Once the PM and the Premier sign off on it, but it's not like there's a shortlist sitting on their desk.
Right.
We still have some time to go. Not for me to preempt, but if I had to really guess, we're at least a couple of months away yet.
Ted O'Brien, really appreciate your time this morning.
Pleasure,
Thanks so
Rebecca.
much.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Ted O'Brien, the member for Fairfax, who is the special envoy for the Brisbane 32 Games. 11 years out, 3,973 days to go. What could Brisbane do differently? If you've got any ideas, 1300 222 612. You can talk about it on the radio this morning, or you've just heard Ted O'Brien open it up and say he's looking for out-of-the-box ideas. What do you reckon Brisbane could do differently with the Olympic and Paralympic Games? 1300 222 612.